Hi, this is an overview of the pivot and unpivot cards. You can try it yourself, even if you don't have an account. Just go to app.installect.com and click try it now. So I will create a CSV file and I will click the magic wand to get some data to start with. And we can see here we have a column called quarter that has the identifier for the quarter, and a column called amount that has the amount of sales for that row. So what happens if I want to create one column per quarter and I want to keep some other columns? That's what the pivot card does. We can pick it here from an empty card. And what we have to do is to say which column will be the one that will provide the name of the new columns, in this case quarter. So we can drag it and drop it on the column name from. And now we can see that we have 4 columns, one for each unique value on each row for the quarter column. And we have to provide which of the other columns will provide the value for each one of these new columns. In this case, it's amount. Now we have a sum, because we are not grouping by anything, so it's collapsing all the rows into one, summing all the values. But we want to have one row per combination of country and city. So I can say group by country and group by city. We can say something else like year also. So now we have one column per combination of country, city, and year, and one column per unique value of the quarter column, and the value is provided by the amount column. And by default, if it finds more than one row per combination of the group by fields, it will sum it, but we can select something else, like the last value or something else. Notice that some of the columns have 0. This is because in the input data there's no combination for country, city, year, and Q1. So it will be filled with the default value, which in most cases for most of the operations is 0. So this is the pivot table. But what happens if we have this as an input and we want to get the opposite, which is we want to consolidate many columns into a pair of columns, one having the name and the other one having the value. So we want to go from this to something more like this. For that, we have the reverse operation, which is called Unpivot, where we have to specify which of the columns we want to unpivot. In this case, I can drag and drop from here, or I can click on the placeholder and select it from here. So I will say Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. And you can see that now we have 2 columns, like at the beginning, one by default called type and another one called value. We can rename them here. It's called quarter and amount. And we can specify other columns from the input that we want to also have on the output. So I can either, again, drag and drop, or I can click here on the placeholder. Notice that here it changed here. And I can say that I want to select country, city, and year. If I close this, we can see that if I collapse this over here, we have a really similar structure like the initial input. The difference is that we may have more rows, because since the pivot filled missing combinations with zeros, we will get them at the output, which is an interesting side effect. If you want to fill missing combinations, you can pivot and unpivot, and you will get all combinations for all quarters for these columns filled with the default value of 0. So these were the pivot and unpivot cards, which are useful when you want to expand a pair of columns into many, or collapse many columns into a pair of columns. Bye.